Hello, Eagle fans. Well, the news is that Liberty and Guardian are doing well. They've been seen doing nestorations quite regularly. I've seen Liberty bring food back to the nest at least 2 times that I've seen, one coot and one big rainbow trout. And the ground crew has even seen Liberty and Guardian mating. The ground crew does report that the mating they have witnessed appears to be more in the function of pair bonding, which strengthens that bond between Liberty and Guardian as a mated pair. And the reason they have provided that input is because of the relative position that the eagles have taken as maybe not being effective in fertilization. Since the sad loss of the second egg on March 28th, its 39th day of incubation, there has been a question about the possibility of a second clutch of eggs. Today, I would like to address the information that I have researched, and I will bring that and share it with you. To preface this information I'm going to share with you, for those of you who don't know, I am not a biologist. I am not a scientist or expert in any sort of wildlife studies. I am just a birding enthusiast, and I have gathered knowledge as I have watched this nest over the past 14 years, I guess it's been. When I do research on various subjects, and particularly when I'm going to be sharing it with you, I try to vet the source and make sure that the information can be corroborated by others. I always prefer there to be data and expert opinion, but that sort of information is not always available on every subject. I always encourage all of you to check the references and the sources that I share with you, and to do some further reading and research about the subject. That said, let me share with you the sources for the information that I will be sharing today. Today's references and sources regarding bald eagle second clutches. My primary source, which has data and references, is called elfruler.com. And I know a lot of you are saying, what? Well, I'm going to ask you to just accept the name. It's just a moniker taken up by the author of the website. And I will ask you to accept it and to check out the site. It is excellent. I'll be talking more about that in just a moment. My corroborating sources that do not have data or references with regard to the specific statements they made online. The first one is Hancock Wildlife Foundation, and you can see their web address there. And the American Eagle Foundation and you'll see their web address as well. Here's a screenshot from the main page of elfruler.com. And again, I've looked at this website probably once or twice before, and I was researching data on second clutches, and I started going down a rabbit hole here of data and references. And I started looking through this entire website, and I've got to tell you, it is fantastic. It's full of data, and data is something that can be hard to come by. And the author of this website has diligently collected bald eagle data from nests across the country. It's really quite amazing. You'll find detailed information and data about bald eagles across just about every subject that you can think of, including second clutches. The index that you see there on the far left side in the black, I invite you to peruse that and go through the various sections. I think you'll find that it is a website that you will want to bookmark. I have a lot of information to go through, so I have prepared some flashcards with the script, so you can either read along or just listen, whatever you prefer. First, let's address the fertility cycle as it begins for the redding eagles when the eggs are laid in the first or second week of February. And this information comes from American Eagle Foundation. It says, generally eagles may mate throughout the year, depending on if the pair migrates. Frequent mating strengthens their bond to each other and increases the chance of fertile eggs. The female may have 3 2-week windows throughout a breeding season where she is fertile. The male sperm is said to be viable inside the female for 10 days. Increasing daylight hours causes the female's pituitary gland to secrete a hormone that turns on the ova. The ova is turned off by prolactin, which is the hormone associated with incubation. So from that source, we see that there is a hormone responsible for turning on the ova, and that comes after the winter solstice when there is increasing daylight hours as the winter progresses. We also see that there is a hormone that is activated after the eggs are laid and incubation begins, and that hormone turns off the ova, and over time, as incubation occurs, there's less likelihood that the ova is reactivated. If bald eagles lose their first clutch of eggs for any reason, we'd like to know the information about how and why a second clutch would be laid. This is the information from elfruler.com. A great question. What determines whether the adult pair lays a second clutch? The most important factor is timing. Once a clutch of eggs is complete and the adults begin incubation, the hormonal reproductive cycles begin to progress to a new phase. The female's ovarian follicles stop producing ova, the male gradually produces fewer sperm, and the changing hormonal balance induces incubation behavior. In order to lay a new clutch, the hormones must recycle back to the beginning of the egg-laying cycle. Further information from elfruler.com states that a second clutch will occur only after the loss of all eggs of the first clutch, the point after which hormonal recycling is unlikely appears to be about halfway through the incubation period, when the hormones prepare the adult's body to begin its annual feather molt. And the website references at least 3 other studies about this. The average incubation time for a bald eagle egg is about 36 to 37 days, and the author has stats to prove it. Or for both eggs in a 2-egg clutch, 36 to 40 days. So the halfway point in incubation would be about 18 to 20 days. If a second clutch is to occur, it's natural to ask when we could expect it. And I summarized the information from elfruler.com as follows. Recent reports on the timing of second clutches indicates that the second clutch begins 8 to 38 days after the loss of the first, averaging about 20 days after the loss of the first clutch. Here are the statements corroborating the information from elfruler.com. First, from American Eagle Foundation, it says, Eagle biologist Dr. Peter Sharp states, eagles will generally not lay another clutch if they have incubated for more than about 2 weeks. So there is probably a switch that is triggered by a particular amount of incubating that does not allow them to become fertile again within a season. And from Hancock Wildlife Foundation, it says, a second clutch of eggs, of usually only 1 or 2 eggs, can be laid if the first clutch is lost within the first week or possibly 2 weeks of the first egg being laid. So those 2 statements corroborate the information, the data, the statistics, and the published statement on elfruler.com. So are there exceptions to when a bald eagle lays its second clutch? The answer is yes, and it's rare. Here is my summary from the information on elfruler.com. There are a handful of exceptions to the data trends and the majority of second clutch cases. These exceptions include second clutches laid even if the first clutch had been incubated more than 20 days. In addition, there was at least 1 instance where a second clutch was laid after the loss of a hatchling. These exceptions are rare. So what's the history of Liberty having a second clutch? I've summarized that here based on our local data chart. Liberty and her second mate, Spirit, had a second clutch in 2017. Their nest in the southern portion of their territory fell sometime between February 6th and 11th. That year there was no webcam in the nest tree. Eggshell fragments were found in the nest debris. Based on Liberty's typical egg-laying dates, it is believed that the first clutch of eggs was lost within the first week. That early loss of the clutch was likely a key factor in the biological possibility of a second clutch. About a week after the first clutch was lost, Liberty and Spirit reoccupied the nest that is in use today. Liberty laid the first egg of the second clutch about 27 to 32 days following the loss of the first clutch. So how do the circumstances of this year compare to the literature, and what does it mean for our nest now? I summarize that as follows. At the 2023 Redding Eagle nest, the first egg was laid February 14th, and the second egg was laid 3 days later on February 17th. The first egg failed on its third day, and the second egg failed on its 39th day. Data strongly suggests, and some scientists believe, that second clutches become very unlikely if the first clutch fails more than 18 to 20 days following the date that the first egg is laid, or about halfway through the incubation period. In Redding this year, from first egg laid to second egg loss was 3 days plus 39 days for a total of 42 days, which is a full incubation period. That period of 42 days vastly exceeds the 18 to 20 day period where second clutches seem biologically possible. So now it seems very unlikely that Liberty and Guardian will have a second clutch of eggs this year. There are those handful of exceptions, and I cannot say that there is a 0 chance of a second clutch this year. I do see that the data suggests, however, that it is quite unlikely. So what do we do now? Well, Liberty and Guardian appear to be in good health, and I think just as bird lovers, we continue to enjoy this extraordinary pair of eagles. They seem willing and able to continue nestorations. They typically do temporarily migrate out of the territory most summers, but I have posed a question that it will be interesting to see if Liberty and Guardian take that summer migration, or whether they stay close to the territory, since it appears that they have been challenged for the territory this winter and spring. These things we will keep an eye on the camera, and the ground crew will also continue reporting. As far as the second clutch goes, none of us get a vote as to whether we think there should be a second clutch or not. This is a biological process. Summers in Redding are extraordinarily hot, often over 100 degrees Fahrenheit and sometimes above 110 degrees Fahrenheit. I asked Terry if she was aware of any local eagles that had fledged in August, and she said that she does remember at least one eaglet fledging in August, so it can be done. As outlined in the preceding data and information, the probability of a second clutch is very low, but we know our Liberty is an extraordinary eagle, so I'm not going to put anything past her doing. I don't want to put any expectations in your mind about that there will be a second clutch, because it is unlikely. But I think we should all stay the course and continue to watch our eagles no matter what they do. I would like to ask you folks to follow Terry's channel, and you can get a link to that channel from the bottom of my channel's main page. Terry does videos from outside of the nest, so we should be able to get better views than just the nest cam of what Guardian and Liberty are doing. Also check in on the Facebook website for Friends of the Redding Eagles. They also report and have still photographs from the ground crew. I think we're in a good position going forward, folks, no matter what happens. We get to watch Liberty and Guardian and their incredible adventures. I will remain reporting with these videos for as long as there is activity to report upon. And until next time, friends, be safe and be well.